Hi guys, it's Holly the Twister Sister. Welcome to another balloon video. Today is going to be a question and answer video. And I get a lot of questions. This isn't from just one specific person, but what do you do if your fingers are hurt or bleeding, or even worse, start bleeding while you're at an event? Something happens and you're just not in good twisting shape, but you've got a bunch of parties booked, or your kid's birthday is coming up and you've got to make balloons for it. What do you do if your fingers are out of commission? So that answer is coming up next. All right, so I've been twisting balloons professionally since 2005, maybe even a little bit earlier. So at least 10 years now. In that time, you're bound to run into some finger injury issues. It goes with the job, especially if you're doing 8-7-hour gigs like sometimes I get. And if you have any sort of a nail on your finger, you're bound to nick yourself, or your fingers just get worn out, your cuticles start getting injured, and sometimes they might even start bleeding while you're at an event. Or if you have an existing scar, scratch, or something that's kind of healed up, sometimes it can get re-injured while you're twisting and start bleeding. And the last thing you want to be doing is bleeding at events and getting blood all over people's balloons. It's not a good thing. So here's some things that I do to help out that problem. First of all, one thing that I highly recommend, it's a lot like super glue, it's liquid Band-Aids. If you don't or can't find the liquid Band-Aids, you can use super glue, but just be careful because that does have some different chemicals and stuff, and it's not really meant to be on your skin. So if you can find the liquid bandages in the store, that's probably the better, safer way to go. But if I know I'm going to be doing a long event, like 8 hours nonstop line twisting, which sometimes happens, I will preemptively put the liquid bandages along the cuticles of some of the fingers that I use the most for tying and twisting and stuff. I'll just put it around the cuticles to kind of toughen up the cuticle a little bit, protect it from getting nicked or just getting worn out during the course of the event. So that's a kind of a preemptive solution to prevent injuries from happening. Now let's say you're at an event and you hurt yourself and you've got a cut or something. It's never good to just be like, sorry client, I'm gonna go home now because I got a little cut on my finger. It's just not good for business. So you need to be ready. Carry Band-Aids with you. I've got a couple Band-Aids in my bag just in case. The Band-Aids alone aren't gonna cut it with balloon twisting, because the first time you try to tie a balloon, depending on what finger your Band-Aid's on, it's just gonna slip right off with the balloon. So that's not good either. Something I have been known to do in the past is to actually use balloons as bandages if you don't have any with you. So I've got long skinny fingers, and 350s fit over my fingers really well. So depending on what kind of injury it is, I'll just cut off a part in the middle of the 350. So you've got just a round tube like that. And if I've got, a cut on my finger, I'll just open this up real quick and kind of slide my finger in. And that will cover up any injury, stop any bleeding. It does apply some pressure. It's not too tight on your finger, but it's tight enough that it'll stop any bleeding. But this is not a permanent solution. Don't go home and leave the stinking balloon on your finger, because you're probably not going to cut off circulation, but it is a little bit tight. And so go home and take care of it for real. But I have been known to use this in the past. So if you're in a pinch, you can always use a 350, or if your fingers are a little bit bigger, some of you guys might have bigger fingers, try the next size up, the 646. Might help you cover up a small cut or injury that might be bleeding, so it'll help you get through the rest of the event. Okay, so that's a creative solution. Something else I wanted to show you guys. If you're gonna be doing twisting for a long time, I've started using gloves. I've joined the glove crowd. And I don't wear these at every event. They do change the way you twist a little bit. So I would definitely recommend practicing with the gloves on before you just jump right into an event and try them on for the first time. And everybody's gonna be different and want different kinds of gloves. There are a lot of different kinds out there. I'll try to put some links in the description below of where you can buy some good gloves at. I got my gloves at the last convention I was at the Bling Bling Jam. So I'll try to find some good links for you guys. And these were full finger gloves, but the thumb being covered up just drove me crazy. I couldn't twist. The thumb kept getting twisted into the balloons. So I cut the thumb off, and I can twist just fine having the rest of my fingers covered up, and as long as I have my thumbs free. So on both gloves I did that. So if I wear 2 gloves, I've got to have my thumbs free. But all the other fingers are fine. This really helps protect your fingers. You're not going to accidentally cut yourself. If you do have an injury, you know, maybe you have a scab or something that looks kind of gross, you can hide it so the client doesn't see it. It looks nice and professional. It actually helps on the squeakiness of your balloons. So while you're twisting, it kind of makes it a little bit more quieter. So the balloons don't tend to squeak as much because they're just rubbing against the nice soft fabric here. So I'm going to tell you what I did recently. I had a big injury about 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was scared to death because it was October. It's like one of the busiest months ever for the year. And I was helping outside with my husband, and I was doing something on the fence, and there was a nail sticking through the fence. The sharp pointy part was come through the fence, and it was right by a latch, and I hit the latch. My finger that nail got like between the nail and the latch, my finger got stuck in there, and the nail actually went through my fingernail, and of course I was like, ow, and so I pulled my finger out, and the nail just sliced all the way through my fingernail down the side. Really gross. So right on my middle finger, I had my part of my nail was just like hanging off. It was disgusting. It was bleeding, and that was on a Tuesday, and I had events starting on Friday that week. So I was terrified. It hurt to touch it. So I knew these are my 2 fingers that I use for tying every balloon, you know, just constant all day. And I knew I couldn't do that with that nail hanging off there. It's gonna get caught on balloons, and it was really tender to the touch. So I practiced. Before I went to any event, I practiced tying balloons with different fingers. Instead of using these 2 fingers, I used the bottom 2 fingers, which was really weird, but I was able to do it. I also practiced tying using my first finger and my thumb finger, which actually worked as well. It just feels different, so you do want to practice it to kind of get used to it, because these 2 fingers aren't used to being, you know, constantly wrapped around on balloons and tying with them, and so they were starting to get tired, you know, by the end of my gigs. So I started using these 2 fingers, and it's nice to know different ways to tie a balloon, just in case anything like that ever happens. Now, what did I do to cover up my injured finger? I did a few things. I put a Band-Aid on it. I had a Band-Aid on constantly for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then on top of the Band-Aid, I put one of these, which you can also find in the Band-Aid section of your local Walmart or any store. I didn't save the original packaging, but it's just like a finger wrapper, basically. So you just put it over your finger, slide it down, and they're made out of latex, so it kind of feels like your finger is in a balloon. So I put that on over the Band-Aid just to keep the Band-Aid from getting pulled off, and then I put my glove on top of that. And that is how I twisted. And it was still tender to the touch, so I still tied balloons with different fingers and tried not to use that finger until it wasn't tender to touch anymore. And then once it didn't hurt to tie balloons with these 2 fingers, I went back to my usual tying because it's much faster for me. But it's all healed now. I did an event the other weekend, this last weekend, and I didn't wear anything on this finger. The nail still has a ways to grow out. It's pretty gross. But it didn't hurt, and it's, you know, I've trimmed it back so it's not gonna get caught on anything and rip off. I know this is a really gross video, sorry if I'm grossing you out. But I mean, let's be honest, injuries happen, bleeding happens, and you gotta know what to do about it and be prepared just in case. So things I recommend keeping in your bag, your twisting bag, would be the liquid bandages, Band-Aids, or, you know, have some 350s or 646s or something in stock that you can cover up your finger with. and possibly investing and trying to twist in some gloves, because these have really helped me out in a few events where it's just like, it would have been really hard without the gloves. So those are my tips. If you guys have any additional tips, please post them in the comments below, and make sure you guys go down and read the comments, because there's a lot more experienced balloon twisters out there than just me, and they, I'm sure, have run into injuries while they're working and have some great advice for you guys down there. So make sure to check out the comments. If you have any balloon related questions that you'd like to see answered in an upcoming Q&A video, you can also leave those in the comments, or head on over to my Facebook page, The Twister Sister, and just send me a message or something like that, and we'll hopefully try to get your question answered in a future video. I'll see you next time. Bye!